Hey guys, so welcome back to another video on the channel. I am going to break down what I kind of went into this week as far as the market. I found a great trade on British Pound JPY yesterday afternoon. I didn't take that many trades this week. It was a heavy fundamental week. A lot kind of went on in the market. But if you was able to be patient, you could have found some great entries. And I found a great trade on British Pound JPY. A very simple breakout, very simple pullback to the downside. Made a lot of profit on the trade, around 180 pips or so. So kind of dig into it and let's see what happened. All right, so this right here, the trade on British Pound JPY that I was talking about, this right here was a very simple trade. And the key thing I really want to get across in this video is always look into your past to confirm your future. That's one of the best things about being a price action trader is the pattern, right? A pattern is something that happens over and over again. And it's the same thing with market structure, the same exact way with the price action pattern, right? If you can look to your past, right, it can happen again, right? If it happened before, it can happen again. And this is the key thing how traders are always able to make our money, right? Because we're always saying to ourselves, if it's coming to a certain level of support and resistance, that's the key thing, right? If it's coming to a certain level of support and resistance, we simply can identify where to act at. And I say that always, right? The level is your where, and the pattern or the given price action pattern, whether it be a morning star, a evening star, a bullish engulfing, bearish engulfing, that's your reason why. The level that you mark up, the level of support or the level of resistance is exactly where you want to enter at. Once it gets to that level, you simply got to identify why you want to sell here or why you want to buy here. The level of resistance, right? It always gives you meaning to look for bearish confirmation. This right here is a process of where you can use a process of elimination, right? If you're at a level of support per se, right? You're looking for bullish confirmation to confirm your buy. At a level of resistance, you're looking for bearish confirmation to confirm your sell. This is a very easy way to understand simply, right, which direction in the market can it more likely take, because you're never going to be 100%, right? We don't have to be, right? Right off the bat, you already have a strong possibility of being right on that trade. So just by knowing a little bit more information about the market, it gives you that much more confidence of being correct. Now, this right here, like I said, right, all I pretty much did was look to my past to confirm my future. I don't have to overcomplicate it. I don't have to look at a bunch of different indicators. I can look at very simple factors of the market to understand what I'm looking for and what I'm trying to identify. And all I got to say is, right, okay, if that looks that way, if that looks this way, it's probably going to go to the sell more likely than it is for the buy. Am I 100%? We don't have to be. And that's why we have a stop loss on every single trade to avoid losing more than we want to lose. That's a very easy way to look at it, right? But looking to the past at this first touch, when price action came around this level, around 168.93, we see how it fell to the downside. It pulled back, right? And it went all the way lower, right? It fell all the way lower. When price action got right back to that same exact level on this day, November 23rd, what happened, right? The same exact past level. It fell to the downside. It pulled back, right? The same exact touch right here as the past, and it went all the way to the downside. This is what I mean. If it happened before, it can happen once again. Now think about it. When price action got right back here on December 13th and December 14th, what happened? It fell to the downside the same exact way. It pulled back to the same exact past level, right? This right here, the same as the past, and this touch right here, the same exact as the past, right? Once that happened, it fell all the way to the downside, right? And this took as far as still could fall even more and keep on making profit running into the next week. So this right here is kind of one of them choices where you got to decide, do you want to close out because today is Friday, or do you want to simply kind of hold on? And if the trade is this much in profit, you probably can go ahead and hold on and simply kind of move your stop loss into profit. This is what I'm doing on my trade to hold on even longer on British pound JPY, simply moving my stop loss, right? Moving my stop loss even to a break even, right? This is one choice. Move it to my stop loss, move it to my entry, and make that trade a break even. And right here, I can move it into profit to make something, right? If it does pull back on me, I'll still make some profit on this trade, or I can simply just close out where it's currently at right now and just go ahead and take all that great money. Because I did make over 183 pips on this trade so far. So I can just go ahead and take that profit and avoid holding over into the next week, right? Or if you want to just be more patient, it could pull back here, right? And then just fall even lower because we see that happen, right? We see that happen here and we see it happen here. Why not happen once again? We got to keep that in our mind, right? If it happened before, it can happen once again. And that's really how a lot of the time I'm getting into my trades, or not just that, but because it gives me more confidence, right? It gives me more credibility on the market because why not, right? If I see breakout, if I see a pullback, that's the way we approach the market. And that's the key thing we wait for. Once I had the breakout and once I had the pullback, all I had to do was see if price action was going to stay below that key level the same way it did here and the same exact way it did here. That's the key way to look at the market, right? If it happened before, it can happen once again. Every single time, being patient and waiting for great entries is really how you're going to be able to make a lot of decent profit on your account, and also to avoid taking heavy losses. Now, losses will happen from time to time, but they don't have to be big and they don't have to happen often as you would think, right? You can be able to just be patient, look at the market, and really only go for the meaningful trade that you know can make you a decent amount of profit. So seeing this right here on British pound JPY, breakout pullback, look at the rejection, simply go for the sell, not overthinking it, stop loss above the level, making all that profit to the downside. And this right here was just one of the great trades that took place this week, but it definitely was a heavy fundamental week where you had to be patient. You couldn't really force anything, right? As far as this week, we did have a lot of heavy fundamental news, but definitely look at the market and see how it did drive in a lot of different places. If you are looking at, say, like EuroCAD is still skyrocketing to the top side, has not fallen since November, right? We entered on November 28th and it's still going all the way in profit. This is another way of just simply holding out your entry, not touching it, allow it to keep on making you money, right? This right here is a great example of that. Simply get it in, breakout, pullback, the way we always look at the market, right? Broke above the level, pull back to the same level, skyrocket all the way to the top side, and it's lasting days and days and weeks apart, right? All the way until Christmas, right? It's still at the top side. Looking at this right here, I'll probably close this trade out if it falls back below this level, because once that happened, it could pull back, right? And then continue back to the downside as far as looking at all of these previous levels of support and resistance. All them key levels will come right back into play, right? Fall below here, pull back, fall below here, pull back. So if it falls below this first level here, I'm going to go ahead and take profit on this trade, and still a great deal, right? from our entry down here all the way up here is 470 pips or so. And I was also taking more entries, small entries along the way as far as scalping it, right? So this right here is a great example of how to simple, like just hold out your trade and not overthinking it. Looking at your USD, I know a lot of guys still been trading this right here. Like I said, I haven't been touching this pair. If you're being patient, how I am on this right here, you're looking for another breakout, another pullback, right? It did break out above this level, okay? So it did break out above this level, and right now it's trying to pull back. If we see some kind of rejection here and it stays above that level, you can look for a buy. Let's go down to the 8-hour. So you're seeing this right here as the pass. This right here is also the pass. We have a breakout. This could be the pullback, but it has to stay above this level, right? If we get even closer to this, 1 second, pull that back there. If we get even closer to this right here, we're saying to ourselves, it got to stay above this key level around 106.06. If it can stay above that level and then push back up, I would definitely go for a buy here Monday morning or even Tuesday, whatever it may be, if you can see bullish rejection. If it does not stay above that level, it's probably going to fall back to the downside. And at that point, you got to wait for a pullback to look for a sell. So if it doesn't stay above this level, right, break below, pull back, go for a sell, right? Break below this level, pull back, you're going to look to the sell to the downside and look for make that great money just like that. But any case scenario, I want to see Euro USD continue to push to the top side. Keep on breaking up, keep on pulling back, and keep on going to the top side and keep on making that profit. If you have been already into it, you definitely made a lot of money so far. This right here is going back right here, November 22nd. This right here, November 30th. This right here, December 7th. So any given entries on one of them days would have made you a lot of money and a lot of profit. So there's still a lot of hope for your USD. If we're looking at the daily and the weekly, this is what I'm saying. Like, I want to see it to continue to the top side. We see we had a long downtrend before. So I want to see it continue, right? To keep on breaking these levels, to keep on going to the top side. If that happens, we can just simply hold out, right? You can find a buy position and simply hold out your trade to see, will it keep on making you profit and will it continue to keep on going to the top side? And you really don't have to do nothing, right? The same way as you see the breakout and pull back on the weekly in the past, let's see if that same thing can happen for the next year, right? If that continues to happen and we already broken out of that previous level, right? We already broken above a lot of these previous levels. So if it continue to keep on going to the top side, which I want to see, I'm definitely going to keep on holding out my buy, keep on finding more entries, and then riding out that buy entry and that buy momentum and make a lot of profit, right? Anybody can do that. So if you're looking at your USD, that's how I'm looking at it as well. I want to see it push right back to the top side. I would hate to see it fall back down, even though we can still make money on the sell. I would rather see the same thing that happened before, right? Look at that long downtrend. If that can happen all next year, you can just simply keep on buying it without doing anything else and keep on making profit the same exact way. So that'll be a great thing to see. Looking at British pound all, this is another one I've been looking at for quite some time now. I believe it might fall down, right? I believe it might going to come to this level and fall down, but I'm not going to get in for a sell unless it falls below this level and pulls back, and then I will look for that direction. If it kind of comes here, but then pulls back up, I'm going to go for a buy right around here on British pound odd and look at it just like that. We see how we always have an impulsive move and a correction, impulsive move and a correction. So I'm hoping that this right here is kind of like stalling a little bit, but sooner or later it makes that impulsive move to the top side where I'm gonna get in on the next breakout, either above that level or the next breakout and pull back above that level. Okay. So we can even look into our past, we can see how this right here was a key touch. If we go to our weekly or our daily, we can see how, look at that, right? This right here was a key touch. And that's why I said it could fall at this level. It could reject here and fall to the downside, but it also, hopefully, we see it continue push to the top side, where if it breaks above that key level, as I said, on the 4 hour and 8 hour, if it breaks above this key monthly level here, I'm going to make that buy and go all the way to the top side to keep on riding it out, because it has been in an uptrend for quite some time. It's kind of weird to look at it, but it has been going in an uptrend for quite some time, coming all the way from down here, right? September, right? September. Ever since then, it's been in an uptrend. So if that continues, I'm gonna look to break out, pull back to go for that buy to the top side. Also, another one I want to kind of break down. Oh yeah, British pound USD as well. We can see how the correction that happened on this pair, and it's pretty much because of the fundamental that happened with the USD. If you've been looking at USD, right, not today, but yesterday, right, we had a lot of more heavy USD news that kind of took effect on the market. It did make USD fall down a lot, but since then it kind of rebounded. Since yesterday, it kind of rebounded, which caused British pound to fall, and it caused Euro USD to fall as well, just a little bit. But I don't really know that these kind of corrections are going to last a long time. I'm thinking that it's probably going to push back to the downside, but like I said before, it really doesn't matter because we can make money either way. I just rather see everything right now kind of beat the dollar. You know what I'm trying to say? Because the dollar been kind of the top dog for a long time, kind of beating a lot of different major currencies. So I would rather see the dollar kind of fall down, other currencies kind of take place, because this way, like I said before, we can ride out the trend for a very long time without worrying about so much going on in the market, and hold out our entries and not take a bunch of trades every single day, but still able to keep on making profit. So looking at British pound USD, it did have quite the run. The very first breakout and pullback we saw here for a great entry, made some great profits, broke out again, pulled back, this time even making the morning star. We found that for a great entry, finding multiple entries. I took one down here and another one right after that morning star entry as far as breakout, pullback, right? And we saw it climb to the top side. Now looking at it even more closely, like I said, because of the DXY, it did gain, it kind of rebounded from the drop yesterday, but the DXY has been perfect, right? And we look at the daily, right? Break below, pull back, and it fell to the downside. So that news did have a negative impact, right? That news that came out, right? It did have a negative impact, right? Yesterday on USD, but today it kind of pulled back and rebounded, right? It kind of had a correction after that sell-off from yesterday's fundamental, but it did break out, it pulled back, fell to the downside, and now it's kind of pulling back just a bit. And that's why you kind of see British pound and Euro USD falling against that, because you see a bullish dollar that's kind of rebounding from that sell-off that took yesterday after the fundamental. So if you're looking at this right here, on British pound USD, that's why we see it fell to the downside. Right now, it's pretty much not a reason to overall think that it's going to keep on falling, to think that it could do that. But the only way I would look for a sell is if it fell back below this level, pulled back, and here I'll look for rejection, and then boom, right? The same exact way you go for the buy, right? Breakout, pull back, look for bullish rejection at the support, and you're going for that buy. Same thing here, but for itself, right? Breakout, pullback, look for bearish rejection at the resistance, and you make all your money to the downside. So this right here is another way, just like Euro USD, where you kind of just got to be patient. Like I said, if this key level here is broken, right? If that gets broken, yes, then you can think about a sell, but it could still stay here and then push right back to the top side if the dollar decides to keep on falling. Because like I said, I want to see a weak dollar. I want to see the dollar to continue to fall to the downside, because if that happens, right, if the dollar continues to fall to the downside we're going to see a lot of strong currency pairs beat it, right? So if this right here continues to just melt, look at that. If it continues to go to the downside like that, the same way how it pushed to the top side for the whole entire year, if we can see this happen for all next year, is understand how easy it's going to be to make a lot of money. All you have to do is simply wait for price action to stay below this level and then continue to break below the previous levels. You're going to find so many great trades, because as this right here is falling down, euro is going up, right? British pound is going up. All USD is going up, and anything like that that's based in the dollar that's in front of USD is always going to rise to the top side as we see a weaker dollar. So hopefully this right here happens and we can make a lot of profit on very simple and clean entries. But this week has really been amazing. So many great things have taken place in the market, so you can really find a lot of decent trades. It's really just more about knowing how to be patient. Like this right here is another setup that I'm looking for on British pound CAD. Right here, I got in for the sell, but like I said, because it's late in the week, I'm pretty much don't really have nothing more to do. So I got in for this sell, but I'm probably going to hold it out until next week on British pound CAD. I got into this trade right after I saw my trade on British pound JPY this morning, how deep it was into profit. And the same reason as I say all the time, you see how this is the past. This right here is the past, right? It fell back below this level, pull back to the same level. We're looking for it to continue to the downside. And that's really the only reason I got in for that sell. If we look at the previous trend, we can see how it has not broken this trend line. So when it got here for another touch, instead of pulling back to the top side to keep on going up, right? Break above, pull back. Instead of that happening, it fell to the downside, right? So I'm thinking about it in that way. It can reject here and fall down. And so far, that's what's been happening. It hasn't moved that much yet, but hopefully going into next week, it fall to the downside. If not, I don't have that big of a stop loss, right? So 1 second. I don't really have that big of a stop loss from here to here. It's like 52 pips. That's not a lot at all. But here to here is over 175, right? And down here is over 400. So really think about that, right? If I'm right on this trade and it continues to fall, right? Breakout, breakout, pullback. Once it gets here, I'll make over 400 pips. And imagine if the trend continues all the way to the downside. But either way, as we always said, right? It doesn't matter if it falls or rises. We can make money both ways. If the sell doesn't happen and it decides to push back above and pull back, I'm going to get back in for that same direction as I wanted to in the past. If it breaks back above that level, boom, nothing wrong with getting into the buy. If it's not going to fall, is going to go to the top side. So these right here has been a few other pairs I've been looking at and trading this week. Like I said, I did not take a bunch of trades this week, but I was able to make some very decent profit, especially on British pound JPY. This right here was my champion of the week. Made a lot of profit on here, over 100 and something pips. So all I'm doing right now is taking it step by step, especially around this time of the year. You really don't want to force anything to start off next year in a bad way. You want to take your time and go for the trade that simply just makes sense. That's not overcomplicated, and you don't need a bunch of indicators to make a choice. You simply can just read the market, and that's ultimately what a price action trader is. So everybody have a great week, had a great week, and have a great weekend. I'll see you next time, guys. See you later.